And I taped it and I just played it again. Well, so let's see. Where's the thing? I was just saying. Okay, so the Villanueva thing. And I don't know, Michael Crozier, do you have that audio that Steve Gregory had of sitting down with Villanueva about the 3 existential threats to L.A. and all that?
Not readily available.
And I mean, basically what he's saying is what I'm about to say, is the skyrocketing homicide rate, the homeless crisis, and then what you don't know is way out in the desert, the illegal cannabis grows are all over the place, and they're run by cartels. Cartels are picking people up at the border and then effectively using them as slave labor. Again, in the entire United States, no matter who you are, if you're worried about human trafficking in Somalia or Peru, start right here. Start right here in this county. Start downtown at a T-shirt factory. Start out there in the desert where some guy was told, hey, if you get in that truck, we have work for you, and we pay cash and the whole thing. And he's thinking, oh, sounds like a great job. Well, it turns out his work is driving a truck around stealing water from the various Owens Valley irrigation pipes and things like that. And so this is something that I haven't heard Villanueva drill down on very much, but it should be a bigger story, except that the majority of print, TV, other journalists are kind of panty waste when it comes to, because here's the story. Here's what's going on. If you look at a map of Southern California, and in the northeast corner where LA County meets with Kern County, and then San Bernardino County, the world's largest county ever, it's pretty wild and woolly out there. And why do I know that? I know that because I'm that guy, and I go out on these little safaris to famous wreck sites, famous Edwards Air Force Base, aircraft wrecks, famous aircraft that wrecked during flight tests, and other curiosities. Hey, Michael Crozier, have you ever heard of the Battle of Palmdale?
Palmdale? No, I have not.
Well, that's fascinating. You see, I'm sorry, that's a running joke. But out there, it's pretty wild and woolly, and they will put up instant greenhouses with bent PVC pipe and then clear plastic over them, and then they will go around the area stealing other people's water, or they'll bribe someone for a key, or they'll fill a truck with Owens Valley water, with LA water, with Chinatown, Mulholland water. And then they'll water their marijuana. And these are unlicensed, illegal. And yes, they will shoot you in the head and bury you in the desert if you dare to go there and ask some questions or investigate them. We'll be back just a second.
I did look up Battle of Palmdale, by the way. That's not what I was expecting.
It's a fascinating story.
Incredibly fascinating.
I've told the living crap out of it on the Dark Secret Place, and that's why it's become a running joke. We'll be back right after this. It is a Tim Conway Jr. show. Brian Suits filling in, KFI AM 640. The weirdest thing is Sheriff Alex Villanueva pointing out today as the crime rate goes up. But we're emptying the prisons, though. I don't. There's fewer people in prison. If we're emptying the prisons, why would the crime rate be going up? I just don't get it. We're emptying the prison. It's like an idiot sitting at a table saying, "I don't get it. As a tequila bottle empties, I get drunker." Whatever could be the reason, whether by federal judge ruling or malicious intent on the part of the governor and his Department of Corrections and all that, they're releasing people who shouldn't be released. And I'm not surprised by a governor who blamed COVID in California on Vietnamese nail salons.
This whole thing started in the state of California, the first community spread in a nail salon.
Yeah, so if you don't know, that is what nail salon means. People that they reclassed based on what was the last thing that they were convicted of, not what was their longest stretch. So we are releasing violent people back out here during a pandemic. I mean, it's just, it's like the plague is in the village, and someone says, does anyone have any rabid wildcats that we could maybe release and, give the kids some exercise or something? We're at a time when there's record unemployment. You're releasing people out of prison because already you're dealing with AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57, and then they're coming up with this, mystery infection rate in the prisons that didn't pan out. They didn't have a death rate greater than outside here. If anything, you should be beating on the door of Corcoran, saying, give him Phil Spector's old cell. But they released people far earlier than they should have been. And oddly enough, habitual criminals have a habit of crime. And all of the idiocy and naivete of a George Gascon doesn't avoid the fact that some people are just sons of bitches. And they just want to commit crime and mayhem. Then on top of the fact that you release so many people still in their 20s and 30s that kind of have their tail up about stuff, they come out of jail ready to settle scores. And that is what happens when you go in prison. You start a list of who you're going to deal with when you come out and you settle scores. You're seeing scores settling. And I see it every weekend on LA's most favorite show, Super Hyper Local Sunday. We track it. You can see it year over year that the handgun deaths, the murders at raves, at parties, things like that, way up. LAPD and LA Sheriff's Department are reporting that the homemade, not homemade, but the kits that are called 80% lower kits. Those are the handgun of favor right now. Or, the stolen 20 times handgun or whatever. But they're seeing the untraceable, and I'm not going to use the term that Kevin De Leon uses because for he is a certified moron. But there is a type of gun. There's a kit that you can buy that you make it at home, and then you legally put it together with other parts, and it doesn't require a background check. But it's not a gun. It's a piece of plastic until you complete it and then put the parts in. Now it's a gun. So you understand, it's not a hobby kit. Okay, it's something that requires a skilled person. Now what's going on is it's illegal for somebody to make it for you. You buy it, you make it, and that's that. You can't transfer it or sell it without the federal government being involved, or the state of California. But oddly enough, and here's my theory. My theory is that criminals don't always follow the law. Yeah! And that what is happening is that you have a couple guys who are really, really good at putting these things together. They're buying them. They're buying them for $150. They're buying the parts and then the upper slide and the barrel and everything. They're clearing it total for maybe about $500. They're selling them for $1,000 or $2,000 because it's a unserial numbered gun. And so that's part of the reason, by the way, that that entire industry is backed up because of demand. Regular citizens are in line to buy those hand over fist, but people who don't intend to commit a crime with it. But criminals have discovered that if you buy 20 of them and all the requisite parts, the whole thing, that you can turn quite a little profit. So they're flooding the streets with those illegally transferred guns. And this is really weird. And this is the part that a lot of people don't understand is about, well, where do these guns come from? What are they, just machining them themselves? There is a part of federal law that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives enforces. It's an American law that you can make at home a firearm for sporting purposes without telling the government. And if you buy what's called a 80% kit, it's called 80% because you have a block of aluminum, and these guys years ago went to ATF and they said, here's a block of aluminum. And an AR-15 has what's called a lower with the pistol grip and all the little gutty-wutties of the lower part of the gun. And then the upper part has the barrel, the bolt, and it's called an upper, and it doesn't require a serial number. But the lower part requires a serial number. That's the gun. ATF said that, hey, that thing with the barrel, that's not the gun. If we have to decide between the lower and the upper, that lower part with the pistol grip and the trigger, that's the gun. Okay. So these guys went to the ATF and said, well, there is a block of aluminum. Is that an AR-15? And they said no. And they started machining it, and they said, okay, what's that? And they said, still a block of aluminum. And they did 10% more work, 10%. And then they got to 80% completed. And it looks, if you don't know what you're looking for, it almost looks like it's the complete upper. But they said, tell us at what point it's a gun. And ATF said, stop right there. That's 80% complete. That is still a block of aluminum. Do one more thing, and that's a gun, and it requires a serial number, a call to West Virginia, to the National Instant Check System, et cetera. So that's where the phrase 80% comes from, is you buy this piece of plastic, in the case of a Glock pistol, and it's 80% complete, but it's still a block of plastic as far as ATF is concerned. So that's all well and good. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you don't intend to malice or harm or commit any crime with it, that's all fine. But because some criminal gangs have discovered, if you have a guy and he has a drill press and he's got the time, he can crank, and he has the parts, you can crank one out once every half hour, maybe an hour. So that's what that is, and those are becoming one of the more dominant guns being picked up at crime scenes. But the main deal is, because here's a story, there was the legislature today balked at a proposed gun tax to fund violence prevention programs, and what's his name, Mark Levine from San Rafael was talking about gun violence will not end on its own. We must take responsible action when our communities continue to be devastated by gun. Look, listen, guns are not self-licking lollipops. We're letting out the operators, the human system that uses guns to commit crimes. Record gun sales in California, but the homicides didn't go up until we started releasing people in jail who were using guns in the first place. So this is not rocket science. It's not. And blaming the guns is lazy. I'm going to say blaming the guys that use guns, letting them out, let's try that. But wrong county, wrong year, right, Los Angeles? We'll be back right after this. And by the way, if you don't know, you get paroled out to your county of adjudication. The LA County is responsible for 1/3 of the California prison population. That's why we have an inordinate homicide increase. Back right after this, KFI AM 640, the Tim Conway Jr. Show. Brian Suits filling in live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.